Welcome to our Teenager's Guide to Dyscalculia. Hope you enjoy.
Dyscalculia. Due to brain injury during birth and early development, 7% of all students in America struggle with math or have the inability to acquire arithmetical skills. Dyscalculia is also known as the inability to solve and understand math arithmetic. 44% of people with this condition will not be limited in all other areas of life that do not involve numbers and counting, such as language arts, social studies, science, communication, and learning languages.
Dyscalculia is easily detected through how much time it takes someone to solve a math problem or counting anything. Symptoms of people with dyscalculia include delay in counting, delay in addition strategies, difficulty in memorizing arithmetic facts, lack of number sense, difficulty understanding quantity, less automatic processing of numbers. There are also symptoms that have not been proven yet. These include having difficulty with imagining a mental number line, with subtraction and addition, using finger counting, decomposing numbers, understanding place value, learning and understanding reasoning method, learning and understanding multi-step calculation procedures, anxiety or negative attitudes towards math, focusing on short-term memory with coordination, with remembering numbers and reversal of numbers.
Students with dyscalculia face challenges and have specific characteristics that set them apart. These include lack of skills in math fundamentals, inability to conceptualize and execute math processes, attention deficits usually caused by frustration, visual spatial deficits, which means they can't tell the difference between numbers, symbols, clock hands, and they have problems writing in straight lines. They also have difficulties using number lines. Auditory processing deficits, memory problems, which makes it difficult for them to solve problems with many steps. Motor disabilities, which means writing numbers slowly and inaccurately. They also have problems writing numbers in small places.
These students also face math anxiety, which leads to intense fear and avoidance cause the inability to learn math concepts and skills. Influence on students' math choices. This anxiety is heavily encouraged by negative experience with math, such as previous math failures, teacher-parent pressure, poor self-esteem, experience stress about a particular situation rather than all math situations. And these students feel unsmart in all math situations, do not enjoy all aspects of arithmetic.
Professor Newman states that those with dyscalculia also usually spoke early and very well as young children, and they continue to speak well throughout their lives. Those with dyscalculia also write very early and like to express themselves through their writing. Those with dyscalculia usually learned to read early and to read well. They like to read for pleasure and to learn. Those with dyscalculia are usually exceptional students in all other subjects except math. Ms. Capriglione adds, someone with learning difficulties in math can have many other strengths, such as being a phenomenal writer, a great athlete, an artist, or great at playing an instrument.
Students with dyscalculia have physically no difference. Students with dyscalculia do have ways to overcome the problems that are presented to them. A common way to do so is to give the children hands-on visual activities that will help them overcome their problems. Kids with dyscalculia also struggle with map reading, patterns, estimating, or working with numbers of any kind. Those with dyscalculia can fool their teachers and friends by developing a clever way to avoid math and calculating. They want a reputation for being smart, do not want to admit that math makes them feel stupid. All their lives, they have been told to be more careful and pay attention to detail more, and to study and try harder in math. They believe that they can overcome their math difficulties by trying harder and studying longer, but these usual tactics do not produce the expected results. This makes them feel frustrated and angry. After a while, they may become overwhelmed by failure and frustration, and may cry when faced with math tasks. They may avoid math because it makes them feel inadequate and distressed. When they cannot avoid it, they will feel anxious and stressed, which will make them even less able to think mathematically. They will describe this as a mental block or drawing a blank or blacking out. And it's like I've never seen this stuff before in my life. Teachers may call this math anxiety, but it's important to know that the math anxiety does not come first. Math anxiety is not the cause of math difficulties. Math anxiety results from the brain's inability to process quantitative and visual spatial information reliable and effective.
People with dyscalculia make errors that they are not even aware of. They may copy numbers wrong. They may read numbers wrong. They may say numbers than other numbers than the numbers they intended to say. They may see one number but think another. They occasionally forget what they are doing in the middle of working a math problem, especially long math problems. They occasionally lose track of when counting things. They get confused by all of the different directions you have to go in when doing arithmetic. They have a hard time following physical sequences. They have a hard time remembering sequences, directions, maps, schedules, and times. It may be hard to read an analog or phase clock reliably. It is hard to keep track of time, and they have poor sense of how much time is required for something and how much time has gone by. They have hard time handling money because they lose track when counting, can't do addition and subtraction in their head, and can't think of numbers when under pressure. They have visual spatial difficulties that make certain tasks harder. They may avoid sports that require a lot of coordination and processing of rapidly changing stimulations like team sports. Sports that don't require so much complex and rapid visual processing would be track, cross-country, and swimming. They cannot process visual spatial information that occurs quickly. When watching sports events, they may frequently ask, "What just happened?" They don't necessarily learn better by touching things because touch is a weaker pathway. They may have a hard time executing tasks without looking, like plugging something in without looking. They have a hard time visually comparing things and seeing the differences between similar objects. They think more slowly and carefully about visual stimuli. They misremember numbers frequently, whether it is easy addition and multiplication facts or dates or times, and even birthdays of special people. They are embarrassed by these mistakes and try to avoid making them in public. Since it is socially acceptable to be smart but bad at math, they may admit, "I'm very smart, but I can't do math. That's okay. I can use a calculator."
This film was brought to you by Alexi Millay and Ethan Bishop.